Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those of you who have joined our webinar. Today we will be presenting what's new at Strayos, latest features, and a bunch of good stuff that we've been working on. And James Kenny will be your presenter. My name is Elijah Williams. I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. A few questions or a few quick housekeeping items. Sorry, not questions. Before we start, we're going to be sending out a link with a recording to the webinar after it's finished. So if you want to share this or have a record of it after it's completed, you'll have that. And if you're having any audio troubles, there is a dial-in function that you can use as an alternative. So keep that in mind. Any questions you have through the webinar, please put through the Q&A. We'll try to tackle those at the end of the webinar. If we run out of time, we'll get back to you with any questions and publish answers for the group. So please post those there. We're also going to be running polls. So through the webinar, you'll see us pause and run a poll. Appreciate any feedback you have there. We'll share that with the group and use that in discussion. So that would be much appreciated. Other than that, again, thank you for taking the time today to join. Presenting, I have James Kenny, our VP of Revenue Services here at Strayos. For those of you who have been lucky enough to work with him, talk with him, great. If not, this is a good first introduction to James and the work he's doing here at Strayos. And again, I'll be your moderator. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to James and we'll go ahead and get started.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Elijah. I greatly appreciate it. So as Elijah mentioned, I'm James Kenny, Vice President of Revenue Operations. The fun credentials at the end, I have my project management professional certificate, and then I'm also a certified mapping scientist for LiDAR with the ASPRS group. But going ahead and getting started with Strayos, we're going to do just a quick overview just on the company as Strayos as a whole. So we're in about 30 different countries, used at about 5,000 different mine sites and quarries. A lot of that is attributed to our different drill and blast contractors that we work with that let us be able to see these different sites. Our customers, we have about 130 globally, which that global amount of customers also means we have a global presence as well. So we're headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri, and then we have different offices and reseller partners located globally, as you can see from the list. So today's agenda, we're going to go over just a quick overview of what Strayos is. We're going to touch upon a couple of our main items that we sell and we have in the software. So that'd be our core package, our drill and blast information, site analytics, and then our only hardware system is the Netra. Then we're going to get to the good stuff, the meat. So we'll talk about some of our new tools that we have and some of our new integrations that we've added into the software and our hardware. And then we'll get into our QA discussion where you can ask Elijah and I just about anything under the sun that you might be interested in involving Strayos. So we're going to go ahead and start with a polling question. Elijah?
Perfect. We'll start off with this first question. So I just opened up the first poll, and that question is, what is your primary operational focus area? So we'll take a look at this to see, what the demographic of the attendees in the call we have here. Drill and blast, inventory or stockpile management, fragmentation, more on the pit plant side, site analytics, or if you're looking kind of at multiple areas or exploring different options. So give that a couple seconds here. Looks like about 50% of the people have answered. Looks like we see a pretty heavy drill and blast crowd here, followed by some multiple areas. More seconds here. Votes coming in. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this result. And it looks like we have drill and blast with the primary attendance here. So that's good to know, James. We'll keep that in mind, and followed by multiple areas or exploring options. So thank you guys for answering that, and we'll go ahead and go back to the presentation.
Perfect. Well, that's great information to know, and it gives us an idea of what your primary objectives are today as well. So starting with our Strayos overview, what do we really do at Strayos? So it really comes down to these 4 pillars. So we design, predict, assess, and optimize. Designing, we have our own photogrammetry unit that can help you with your drill designs, your loading timing designs, starting to build out different stockpile information. Predictions, that's where you're going to get into some of the different AI capabilities, where it's starting to make the predictions of what your fragmentation might be looking like, your vibration, your slope stability. Assessment, what are your actual results? And this is where that refinement of the AI and the prediction starts to come in. So we're going to take your actual information. What was the actual fragmentation from your blast? What does our actual bore track information look like? What does our actual haul road look like? From there, then we can then put it into reporting and start to optimize it. So we can look at our trends, we can check our designs, we can look at what our modeling should be. We can track different KPIs that we're looking at. All of that starts to, as I like to say, feed the beast. And the more information you're able to put into Strayos, the better insights and predictions you're going to be able to get. And that leads to that continuous cycle of optimization. Now, doing a deeper dive into these, it's kind of broken down into 3 different items in the software. So we have our core platform, which is our photogrammetry processing. You can upload your data and information into here. We've uploaded our GCPs, as you can see from the video. We can also accept PPK and RTK data as well, processed LiDAR, designs, and a few other imports as well, including orthomosaics. Upload the data, it'll go ahead and automatically then start to do the processing. If you have GCPs, you can actually use an AI tool to auto pick those for you. Highly recommend you always do audits on those just to make sure. You can upload CPs as well. When it comes to getting into some of the basic measurement tools, we have a lot of your basic measurements that you're going to be looking for, 2D, 3D ability. Being able to view these all at 2 and 3D on your web browser makes sharing a lot easier. You can load in your design files as well, so we can see our design of our pit that we have here overall. Then we can start to look at our comparison information that comes from this. So we can do a cut fill analysis, we can compare it to the design or look at others. Stockpiles, every site has them, every site loves them, everybody loves inventory audits. We can go ahead and do those inventories as well. So draw the polygons around. We do have a stockpile AI system that'll auto pick those stockpiles for you. In addition, here you're able to review some of your flight information. You can see how the flight was done, data was captured. That can be good in reviewing and maybe doing some advanced troubleshooting. It will also render out your DSM and DTM information for your surfaces, so you can have a better way of being able to view your data and understand how it's actually working when it goes and renders surfaces from those point clouds. And I like to use a split screen when I'm doing any of the inventory work. It makes it a lot easier to look at the data and see what's actually going on with it. Of course, we also have a point cloud viewer as well. This is very handy when it comes to the LiDAR data or reviewing your photogrammetry data and getting a little bit more into the point cloud aspects of it. Next, we have our drill and blast package. This is where Strayos really cut their teeth and got started. So this is probably our most prominent features. This is showing a burden heat map right now, but basically you can do all of your drilling design work information. You can look at it in a profile view. You can go through and make manual edits to these or mass edits as well. You can put that into your 3D mode and be able to view that. We also then have areas of capability with bore tracking, collar deviation, measure while drilling. We can then get into our loading information, so you can make all your make sure all your holes are loaded correctly with your various types of materials and boosters that you're using. Timing design, we have a couple different ways that timing can be done and put in here. Graphing mechanisms to make sure that they're going off at the correct times and you don't have multi-holes that are stacked that you might need to review your timing on. Getting into your muck pile predictions as well. So once you've done all of that information, you can see what you're going to be getting for a muck pile, which can help with your diggability if it's actually being thrown in the correct places where you want that to be. So after we've done that, going into some of the post blast fragmentation, we have, of course, our fragmentation AI that will go ahead and pull all of that information, run our size distribution graph reports, and if you've done predictions, it'll compare that as well. So that's something I've always found is quite fascinating, and it'll actually learn as you do more and more blasts and input that information. We can also then look at our actual muck pile and compare that to our predictions as well. So this can be used, visualized in the 2D and 3D form, and you can also look at your overall graph as well. Pulling volumetric information if you need to know how much material that it will likely be moved, that's certainly handy there, and you can get an idea on the sizing and shape of it. Our site analytics and safety package, that starts with our haul road intelligence system. So that's going to go ahead and pull your centerline information for all of your different roadways. It has grades, crossfalls, road width, berm heights. All of them are nice, easy toggle switches that you can do. And one of my personal favorites on the crossfalls, if you go ahead and take it and put it into 3D mode and you hit the automation, you can go ahead and see which way your crossfall is actually going on the road. It's just a personal favorite of mine. But getting into some of the other aspects, all of this can be completely customizable on what your tolerances are that you're looking for and tracking down. And if you need to, you can make edits as well in here and manually update any information that maybe the AI didn't quite pick up correctly, or maybe if you needed to add in a certain area. You can also then do report areas as well. Our high wall safety AI, that's going to automatically pull your toes and crest information, along with bench height, bench face angles, catch bench widths, and inner ramp angles. As mentioned before, everything is customizable as far as your tolerances that you might be looking at. So you'll be able to display those. Hover around an area, you'll be able to see what it's giving you for your information. If you put in a separate report area, you can put in different tolerances. So maybe that's something that you might need there. Now, we can also go ahead and start to look at compliance information. So if you have a design or maybe your previous survey, you can load that in. And now you can start to look at your design crest, design toes, if you have any crest loss, toe flare that's coming up. One of the ones I always like to use, especially on the survey side of the house, is over and under break. It gives me an idea of basically how good or bad are we on target. And if you're comparing that to different surveys, it almost works as a change detection. Our rock mass AI, it comprises of slope stability, rock mass for geotechnical and lithology. So what we're seeing here is our slope stability. It's going to give you a factor of safety. You can see that there's a bit of an overhang. So that's flagging in red, as it's going to likely have an issue. We then have our rock mass, which will pull our discontinuity information, our strikes, our dips. You can also then filter that information by doing that and looking at the width, dip angles, dip strikes, and radius. With each of these, you'll be able to run stereograms and stereo nets for that information as well. Last but not least, in our rock mass is lithology. So that's going to look at the RGB values, the point cloud that was captured. You can do some customization on how you want that to go and be able to quantify that. Of course, there's graphs that give you then your percentages of what you're looking at. The user does have to input the type of material, though, that they're interested in looking at. Last but not least, our only hardware that Strayos does offer is our Netra camera system. It's a 3D machine vision camera that helps you look at fragmentation and particle size distribution. This one's mounted over a crusher area right now. So as it dumps, it'll go ahead and then categorize all of that information that's being seen by the camera and do fragmentation analysis on in real time. So this is a video, it's being run. We have a dashboard that'll help compile all that information into something that's more usable and digestible. Of course, you can also run different time shifts that you might want on there, different reports. We have air quality timeline. You can also look at the amount of material that's gone by, or do truck counts as well. Each one of these will go ahead and run an analysis. If you have different threshold areas that you're concerned about keeping an eye on, you can go ahead and mark those either manually or have it where there's automatically alerts. The belt area is our next common area that we usually see this, usually right after the crusher. So they're using that to look at kind of crusher throughput and optimizing that value. However, this can be mounted on any conveyor system. It'll look for your oversize. Again, all the sizes are customizable on what your site might be looking to keep an eye on or producing. And it has foreign object detection. The other item that we recently added to our Netra belt system is black belt time. So that'll keep an eye on your use and optimization of that system. Of course, we have quantity payload information that comes from it. Your normal fragmentation, you're able to review the imagery that's coming out of it, and then go ahead and customize all of that information, run reports on it, and be able to track that as it moves along in the system. Go ahead and turn it over to Elijah for our next polling question.
Thanks, James. Yeah, for our next question. So what brings you to today's webinar? Just open that up. Now that we've gone through some of the current Strayos solutions, we'll transition to some up and coming stuff, but curious to get everybody's perspective on why they're here today. So we'll take a few seconds here to see some results here, and I'll go ahead and publish those once complete. And to learn a little bit more, followed by exploring some journal mining technology, coming in, give it a few more seconds here. Alrighty, go ahead and close this. So it looks like our top winner is current Strayos users wanting to learn a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and keep that in mind, and we'll keep plugging along.
Well, perfect. Here comes the exciting stuff. So now we're going to talk about some of our Strayos hardware updates and integrations that we've done. The first being is we're now integrated API-wise with the DJI dock system. If you're not familiar with the DJI dock system, it's basically a drone in the box, as you can literally see. The drone can be set up in remote locations. You can give it its own power source, connect it to internet, goes out, automatically program it to do the flights. It lands, it then connects directly with Strayos, pushes the photos to it, and then starts your photogrammetry processing in our core project engine. With that, then you'll be able to then run all of your information that you might be looking for, whether that's doing the high wall, pit, toes, and crests, getting into those. With that integration, we've added in a marketplace with some of our different providers that we work with. So Flightbase being one of those, where they do a lot of the different autonomy software for platforms for doing the flight planning, along with DJI Flight Hub 2. And then, of course, Netra, that is part of Strayos, but now we have a direct interface to move through the actual software with the Netra software. So they're now talking to each other. With our Netra system as well, we're starting to pull in the GPS information along with your drill and blast information that might be being used at site. So you'll be able to see your polygons for your different muck piles that might have been shot at the sites, along with tracking the trucks as they move along in the pit. So this can be integrated into current and in sometimes existing GPS systems on the truck that can now be viewed in the Netra dashboard. We've also added some more smart drill integration as well, so you can do your design pattern work, optimize that for your different face burdens, and then you can export that into an Arides or CSV format and send that directly to the drill rig over your mine network. So currently we're supporting Epiroc, Sandvik, and Trimble groundworks. I'm going to go ahead and do another polling question here on integration.
Great, so we'll start that next poll. So how important is integration with your existing mine systems, equipment, or software? So again, take a few seconds here. We'll let everybody put their answers in, and we'll go ahead and review that once closed. So as expected, we're seeing a lot of critical answers and very important. Important, getting some of those. Okay, a few more seconds here, and then we'll close it out. Alrighty, looks like we're capping out our votes. So right now, I'm gonna publish this. So we have very important as our top dog, followed by critical and somewhat important. So good to know, and turn it back over to you, James.
Perfect. Yeah, I've been noticing the more people want to start to optimize those processes, the more you need different parts and machines to start to talk to each other and share that information. The more information they can share, better decisions you can usually make and start to find those holes in the system to tweak. All right, so into the Strayos software itself, some of our new tools we'll talk about, some of our beta testing that's released in the software, some that isn't yet, so it's a little peek over the horizon, and we'll go through those. So first off, as some of you may have seen, we have some new drilling design tools. So we've always had our AB line. Now you can go ahead and trace along the crest of the bench area. So you can put in your burden and spacing information that you might have on here. If you want to do fit spacing on that, you can go ahead and do so. Put in your row count information, very similar to what you've done with your AB line. You now have the back smoothing option. Put in your hole inclination, your diameter, and then if you have any sub drill that you're putting in, select your floor plane. So a lot of this is very similar to what you're used to, since most of you were mentioning your existing Strayos users. And then you can go ahead and click create. And now you have your drill design. You can then show your 3D burdens on what you're looking at for that and do your checks. Now, maybe that's not the right pick for you. Maybe you need to use a little bit of a different way. So we have now draw a polygon. So if you have a bit of an irregular area that you're trying to work in, this can be a very handy tool to draw a polygon. Again, go ahead and put in your burden and spacing information. If you need to do any fits, you can do so as well. You can also grab and manipulate the drill hole locations as well in the data. So if you need to rotate them, turn them different ways, that's something that you can do as well. You can stagger the rows. And then if you click on next, we'll go to, again, fill out our hole inclination, our diameter, any of our subdrill, pick our floor area. We can now verify that our floor is correct on what we're looking to do. Hit create. You now have your drill design ready to go. Nice and easy. So now let's say we've already done our drilling out there and we need to kind of work backwards, right? So we went out, we took our survey information, we've uploaded that into Strayos. We have our hole information from our GPS that we did our shots with. We can now go ahead and import that, select all of our holes, go to next that we want to include in our design, put in our inclination, our diameter, any subdrill information. Again, we pick our bottom of our floor, and then we'll go ahead and click on create. And now, boom, we have our design. So nice and easy, few clicks, couple different ways to now do things. We've also made some updates on our fragmentation editing and added a unified report. So some of the fragmentation, admittedly, you're not going to see. It's done in the back end, so we've made some improvements to the overall algorithm itself and the AI system. So we're seeing much better results coming out of that. In the unified report, if you're working on multiple different bench areas or you want to look at your fragmentation overall in your pit, now you can run that reporting information. It'll compile all of that for you in one report. Before you were grabbing charts and pieces here and there. So that's been a change. Of course, you can still look at your detecting rock size and your particle colors as well. We've also added in an area for modified rocks. So if there's a larger rock that you want to make sure gets categorized a certain way, you can go ahead and actually trace and outline that now. And then once you're done tracing that, I'm talking too fast, go ahead and add that to your overall reporting. You can verify that it's good and that's what you actually want to quantify. Click submit and it'll go ahead and update those statistics for you. We've also added a D80 feature as well. So if you're running and you have your D80 information, you can now filter that by your different rock sizes that you are showing. The slider will go ahead and move left or right, depending on which way you'd like to move it, and adjust your sizing. And now it'll actually show you your amount of rocks that you have fitting within those D80 requirements, their locations, and their ID numbers as well. So this can be very handy, especially for knowing the placement of them, your quantities, and then you can go ahead and see how easy it is to update that information to pull that. And now we have 53 rocks that we're keeping an eye on within that range. So this is a new tool feature. Certainly would appreciate feedback or thoughts on this as we've added it in. We've also added a blast exclusion zone. So once you've done your drill design information and your loading, and then you've gone ahead and done your timing information, you're now ready to take a look and use our blast exclusion zone that's under blast prediction. So if you go ahead and open this up, it'll have some information for you here, and it makes basically radiuses. And that'll show you the formulas that were currently being used for those, along then with your K factor, basically saying if it's a hard or a soft rock. If you update that information, it'll update your overall radiuses as well. You can see how those change. I'll show you again here, and that'll go ahead and adjust down based upon what you're having. You have your face hole settings. You can make your selections on those and non-face hole settings, and then your factor of safety for either equipment or personnel. So as you change those, you'll see that those radiuses dynamically change. And of course, as with all modules in Strayos, there's also a report function as well that you can utilize. Projects is something that's new that we've added to Strayos. This is more of a housekeeping item, but I like it because it's something that's nice and easy to use. So you can tag them by, we have generic labels that are in there, but you can also create your own label as well. So maybe this is going to be a quarterly inventory. Maybe if you're working as a team and you have people who are mid-processing items or needs to be reviewed, you can tag it that way. There's a couple different ways to build either workflows or just general tagging information that might be used. Now with that, you can go ahead and filter by those labels. So if you want to see all of your different projects that dealt with Frag AI, now you can do that. It helps you be able to navigate and sort through that data a lot faster, especially the more you use Strayos, the more projects you get, right? More data, harder to sort things. This makes life a lot easier and gives you that ability to do some customization. Doing projects, another housekeeping item. especially the more that you get into it. I know I am guilty of this as joining Strayos about a year ago. I made projects and made them. Now I'm actually going through and doing some sorting with them. So being able to move these projects is extremely helpful. So you can select different sites that you want to move it to or different jobs, and that's completely customizable on where you want to be able to move it within your overall domain. So simply pick which one you'd like to move, select where you'd like it to go, click Move Project, boom, project's moved. Simple, but very helpful tool. We've also added our blast site as well. So if you're doing a lot of blasting information in a bench area, it can be sometimes hard to figure out what you might be looking for, or if you want to do some filtering or categorization of your different drill hole information. So this is going to give you that ability to look through and review those different data engines and select them a lot easier. So you have sliders as far as your indicators for what you might be looking for, and that'll help you filter through the data. We've added into our rock mass AI our RMR. So that is going to look at our rock mass rating overall. So after you've done your discontinuity analysis on it, you can go ahead and run a rock mass rating information, which gives you kind of a scale of 1 to 5 to work with, looking at your overall rock mass. Now, there are also other options that are included in this as well. That's going to be your rock quality designation. You can look at your discontinuity conditions. You can start to get into different spacing, groundwater information, as well as another strength as well. Almost forgot it. From this information, you can go ahead and pull your statistics on your rock, basically looking at very good, good, or poor rock information. This is a tool we would definitely value more feedback on, and we think that it has a little bit more evolution as well. So if you have feedback on it, want to use it, please let us know. We'd love to have you explore it. We've also now added into the ability to import block models. So this can be found under the design and then upload a design file. Grab your block model information, you can upload it here. You can choose your block identifier that you want to be able to import off of, and along with your block center and block size, and then your coordinate system. Once you upload that into Strayos, it's not going to show right away. You're going to need to draw a polygon for the area. Reason being is because block models are very big. We run on web browsers. We want to make sure that we're optimizing the usage on it. We don't crash the web browser. So that polygon is going to display that area of interest for your overall block model. Now, this can also be customized as well, so you can choose your different custom coloring that you might want to be looking at, or how you want the data to be displayed and sorted to you. This is giving that nice ability to do so. You can also then filter the blocks by elevation, and gives you more control on that, so you can visualize what's going on, start to combine that with some of your other information. Now, if you click on a block, you'll go ahead and get some of the information that's comprised in there that you can review and look at. But we also have the ability to look at some of these statistics as well. So if there's a specific area that you wanted to look at your max, min, and average information from that block, you can go ahead and do that as well. So that's a new tool that we've started to add in, and we'll be starting to integrate it with it more and more. Again, a nice visualization. You can see where it's going in the pit. Start to pull this in, and this relates to our ore body movement information as well that's being utilized within the software. If you haven't heard of ore body movement, ORBYM, this is why, it's new. This is also in our beta. So once you've done your design work and your drilling, your design, your loading, and your timing information, what you can do is start to look at a simulation of what that actual surface will do. Change some parameters. You can go ahead and compare different surfaces and see what those results will look like. Now, the other part that I like about this too is we can run different simulations. In this case, we're not using a block model. It's going ahead and taking kind of a generic lay of the land there from our tin file or topo that we have. And we can see then how that blast is actually going to affect things. If we loaded our block model in, then it would be reflected off of our block model information, and we can start to better track some of that information. So this is a much longer integration that we're starting to look at, pulling in together and getting that information so that we can see where things are going and where they land for diggability. Our segmentation AI, this is in the software right now as beta. I'm pretty excited about this as someone who did a lot of inventory work. Pretty easy to use, left click. This is actually giving you a chance to work and manipulate with the AI. one click picks out the stockpile. You can do some refinement on it. You do need to say the material type if you want it to be a stockpile, but you can see this is fairly easy now to go ahead and do those clicks and build those polygon outlines. Before, you'd have to manually click around. Now what this gives you that ability to do is easily select it in 1 to, on average, 2 clicks, and pick out that stockpile. Now the cool part is it's going to follow the toe of the actual stockpile itself and be able to build a lot more nodes on the base level. What does that mean to us? Well, the more points you have along a base file, the higher accuracy you're going to have on your volumetric comparisons. So of course in Strayos, all these polygons can be saved. They'll register in here. You'll get your density information if you loaded that in your tonnage, and these are still editable. It's not something that you can't edit or touch after you've gone and inputted. Last but not least, this one's not released yet in the software for the updates to the haul road, but we're doing some work in the background on our haul road items. So we're going to be adding in a few areas as well. So we've added in a pothole as detector. So that'll go ahead and look at your area of your different potholes. Again, all completely customizable for your tolerances that you might be looking at. View it in 2D, 3D mode. We can see that we have a pothole showing here. Now this can help when you start to get into fuel efficiencies, your grades, your rough terrains that you might be dealing with. Maybe you need to dispatch somebody to take care of this larger area that seems to have a lot of potholes. That's going to give you that ability. We're also looking at rutting and also rockfall that might be coming out of the back of the haul trucks. A lot of this is stemming from the autonomous fleets that are starting to come out. Our haul road is a pretty popular tool right now that's used, so we're making even more enhancements to that. Go ahead and turn it over to Elijah for our last polling question.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Yeah, so for our last poll, I'm going to go ahead and start that. And what would be your next step to explore Strayos for your operations? So again, we'll give it a minute here, see some answers trickle in, and we'll go ahead and publish those results once it's complete. Getting kind of a mixed bag on this one right now. Looks like scheduling demos, pilot tests, looking at discussing internally, all expected answers. Give it a few more seconds here. Awesome. And I'm going to close that out. So it looks like our winner there, need to discuss internally, followed by just looking at demos and pilot tests. So thank you guys for the answers, and that does conclude our polls. So any other questions you guys have, feel free to post in the Q&A list, and we'll tackle those at the end.
And we're there. So go ahead and if you have any questions and answers, please put them into the Q&A. We're going to go ahead and answer those, as many as we can. If we do run out of time to answer them, we will reach out to you individually. Just make sure they're in that Q&A, because then that provides you with an email that we can reach you at. While we go through the Q&A, I am going to go ahead and leave it on this slide here, so you do have our contact information in case you need to copy any of that down, or you need to send us an email or dig into anything. We'd be more than happy to help you with it. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and let Elijah start to hit us with some of those questions.
Perfect. First question on the list here. What is the plus or minus accuracy of burden measurements? Great question. We get this a lot. A lot of this does stem from the data and how it's been captured and processed. With that being said, assuming you have adequate and suitable data to conduct those burden measurements, you should be within centimeter level accuracy, and that goes for processing the model in those measurements. Where you can start lacking some accuracy is if you don't capture the oblique images properly on the face, or maybe enough of those oblique images for the reconstruction process, and that's very critical in that burden measurement. So again, a lot of it depends on the data, but again, you can have very, very accurate results. There's a published paper out there through ISE, tests we ran through the University of Kentucky a few years back that did a comparison with photogrammetry and more of a scanner-based method of data capture, and the results are actually very, very promising. You saw almost matched results between the two. So just a note there. I know that's out there, but accuracy, is a great question. Second question: can any drone be used with Strayos software? James, I'll hand that one over to you.
So just about any drone can be used with it. I will say there's always the exception to the rule of if it's a survey grade drone where it's got the specialized camera systems. That's going to probably give you better results. But yes, you can. We even do have applications as well where you're able to use your phone for different things. That would be our Fielder app and then also our Fragger app, which we didn't go over here today. But those are certainly some options. But just about any drone that'll take photos, and then you would need to make sure that you have some way of doing survey control, whether that's laying out GCPs or if it's PPK or RTK connected.
Perfect. Next question we have here. Once we created the drill design, is there any option for rotation? The answer is yes. We can rotate those patterns. Feel free to reach out to us so we can show you how to do that. It's a quick trick in there, but very easy to do. James, I'll hand this one to you. So there's been a lot of focus on the geotech and stability side that this individual has seen in Strayos. You mentioned slope stability AI. What does that tool actually do? Is it just a 2D block kinematic analysis using the joint orientations?
So the slope stability AI is going to give you a factor of safety that's associated with your overall area that you've selected. Now, when you do that, though, you do have to enter in your density information, your friction angle, and then if I remember correctly, there's another parameter too. Do you remember it offhand, Elijah?
Cohesive strength.
Cohesive strength. So, yes. Hey, there we go. Yep. So once you enter that in, then it'll give you an overall kind of analysis of what you're looking at. Certainly with the slope stability AI, we are always looking to get more and more information on that would be valuable to either add in or do more analysis. A lot of our analysis is coming out of a Peruvian copper mine that's been really pioneering a lot of that work with us. However, we would be more than happy to work with you on that to see if there's more that we can bring to that table. But right now, it's just more a factor of safety, giving you an idea of areas that you might want to start to look at some monitoring or understand what's happening there.
I'll add to that as well. We use the modified Bishop's approach, the 3D equilibrium equation, and it's with those inputs, to what James said, it gives that factor of safety. And we have some more documentation on that we can share with you after the webinar. So last question, then we can wrap things up here. Maybe two more here. Let's do, will the webinar be saved? Yes, we will be sending that out. It has been recorded, so you can show it. Lastly, due to mines being located at remote locations, it makes it difficult to analyze and design the blast because of network issues. Great question. Any suggestions from your side on this issue? James, I'll take that. I'll let you handle that one as well.
Yeah, I would say what I've seen from a lot of the remote sites is they're starting to use a lot of Starlink systems to run information, whether that's uploading data or looking at the analysis and processing it. Currently, we don't have any offline capability except through our apps, which is Fielder for the drilling and then Fragger for looking at fragmentation that can then be later synced. But if you're looking for the full Strayos kind of suite of information, I would recommend taking a look at the Starlink systems. A lot of the sites are using it and it's working very well, and they haven't had any issues as far as I've heard with being able to pull or send and receive data and information.
Well, I think that should wrap things up for us on our end. James, I'll let you conclude for us here.
Thank you, everybody, for your time and your attendance today. It's greatly appreciated. As always, if there's anything we can do for you, please feel free to reach out to us. And if there's anything you ever want to see added into the software, we value that information as well. And getting an understanding of what you're looking for to make your life easier is important to us. So thank you again for your attendance. We greatly appreciate it, and have yourself a great day.
Thanks, guys.